Yo, yo, yo! Round the VeVeVerse episode 56. We got the real Randy Chavez. We got Mr. MC1 and Dr. of Stuff. Woo!
I would say hello to
Let's
Dashi.
go.
Hello, Dashi.
Let's go, Dashi.
Guys, how's it going? How's everybody doing?
Woo! Everyone's happy in the comments, excited.
Oh, look at
Excited
that.
for another week.
Randy and I twinning with our sleeping hats. Look at you, man.
Twinning. I
There's only
remember that
6
in the
of
mid
them.
2000s.
You know, only 6 of them have been made.
Oh, really?
I think 10 you said?
10? Is that right? Something like that.
Yeah. It was
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we got Sanjay in the house as a special guest. It's awesome. Obviously, the real Randy Chavez and Dr. of Stuff are also special guests, but you guys are like the Triforce. I think what Randy was just saying this before he came on. We're like the Triforce here. We're almost always here. That's great. It's great to have some more people in here, and audience is pretty excited. Who's been buying OMI? Someone's pumping it. Someone is pumping OMI. I don't know if you guys have seen.
I recently bought some OMI, and I'm gonna be doing it again this coming week. Yeah,
Up like 8% today. Crazy.
Yeah, I've had a few people message me, and it's been very mixed. It's pretty much been a cross trade. There's been about maybe like 100-ish million of a couple people that I know have sold, and then like 2 people that have gone on and said like, yeah, I just bought like 70 million or like, 75 million. I was like, oh, okay. So these 2 people like have more than made up for like the people that have messaged me and sold, which is really cool. So that's fun.
Ah, okay. So it's some whales buying up potentially.
Yeah.
Doge Nation bought 15 million.
Oh, look at that.
Nice, almost at 100 million. Nice.
Get that bread, Doge Nation. Obviously, I feel like, if someone's just listening to this, like, oh God, whales are buying, we gotta get in. I don't feel like you just like, yeah, you gotta get in. You have like 24 hours. No, I mean, most likely we're probably gonna stay down here for just a little while longer up until they start delivering. And even if they start delivering, like just because they start delivering doesn't mean that it'll pump just because of that. That just means that community sentiment will turn around. But I could be wrong, could go up or down from here. Nobody has any real idea, but don't try to rush into things. It'll when it pumps, like everyone will know, it'll happen. But try to make like hasty decisions usually doesn't often work, but just kind of a piece of advice or a piece of warning.
I like that. I like that. Uncle Thanos, you need to get some OMI. Not even 1 million OMI. Come on, we got to get it. Who went for the Betty Boop drop yesterday or today?
Sanjay. I was in Sanjay's space as it was happening.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Because of my time zone, I went this morning and I actually got a rare 555. It's a 555.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's a cool
First,
means.
number. Yeah, I like it.
Cool.
And so what drops are you guys looking forward to? I know, Dr. Stuff, you really want a Wolverine, and obviously you don't want a Marvel Mighty Wolverine. You want the proper Wolverine, like the full.
I wouldn't mind a Marvel Mighty after, but I want a proper Wolverine. I will lose my shit if they drop Wolverine as a Mighty and not a. He's got to be a premium collectible, man. He has to be.
I want Goku. I want a Goku. If they can do that, that's like what I'm looking forward to. Randy, what are you looking forward to?
Well, stuff that's been announced. The next 2 Mighties drops. Avengers Part 2, and then the X-Men villains. I feel like for the most part, we've never had a drop of just villains. Deadpool would probably be the closest, as are all anti-heroes, but it's always been, hey, in these 5 Captain Americas, you get 1 Red Skull. With these Fantastic Four, you get 1 Doctor Doom. So having an entire drop of villains outside of the Disney villains that we have, those little chibi ones, we haven't really had that for this. So I'm excited for villains in the Mighties.
Awesome. Sanjay, what are you interested in?
A lot of stuff, man. So the one thing that's sort of playing, it's got the loudest share of my own brain is the music NFTs, man. I read that thing that David put out in New Zealand somewhere, saying there's jukeboxes and there's music, digital vinyl LPs with covers and stuff like that. So I'm very excited about that, man. I'm all about the first as you guys know, I like MC1. I have a stack. I like the first stamp, Day of the Dead, Todd. And so, this would be sort of that next big first for me. Looking forward to that. I'd say, that's kind of got my mind share. But I like the Mighties, and yes, agree that Wolverine would be great. Loving the comics too. I think with the comics, Vivi's got to innovate a little bit. I'm more excited about the innovation that they could do with the drop mechanics than the comics themselves, because there's a lot of great comics, and the comics keep coming. I hope they have a nice burn mechanism, not just for the unsold, but also the sold stuff, right? Burn these comics that you've already bought for poster or something or the other, which is ultra rare, ultra exclusive. I'd love to see some of that. Look at that sleeping. Hey, your brother.
They're one of six. Yeah, you guys are. Who has the other four? Randy. I need to get a stream of all six of them. That would be awesome.
Yeah, who has one? How do you get a Sleeping Comics hat?
Sleeping must have one, right? Sleeping must have one.
So it was just a blind box. Like you bought the hat, and then
you could buy the hat. I didn't even know you could buy the hat.
Well, you could buy the rent, like you'll buy like the blue or the black hat, and if you bought the black hat, you had the chance to match your number of the blue hat, and then you have a variant, and that variant is the white one. So it was just random. So good stuff.
Here's a cool prediction from Doge Nation. Prediction: the first bronze ticket drop would be jukeboxes.
Oh man, love it.
That would make it special.
I don't know if we want that though. Because we would want to test that likely on like the comic, because God forbid there is like a hiccup, and God forbid there's bugs in that. You don't want to mess up the first music drop.
Tell you something, man. Like when you get that bronze ticket, that better be special what you get for that bronze ticket. It can't be no Tarzan comic or no Mighties or nothing like that, man. It's gotta be super limited, super exclusive, very, very nice stuff. To reward all these guys who've sat on this OMI, man, and for a long time, man. I'm telling you, man, I genuinely feel for all my brothers that have OMI, man. I feel for you guys, man. Just really hoping you get something super cool, super amazing in the app that kind of eases that pain a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we'll. There's definitely going to be a few good things happening over the next few months.
Yeah, well, he said too that David had said, man, I can't even remember if it was on my interview or what interview it was, where basically like the bronze tickets that you can only get through OMI, like there will be certain like only those type of drops where you can only get the drop if you have those bronze tickets, which you could have only gotten if you got OMI. So that will be a reward for that, and then there'll be also other drops that are only master collector. If you're master collector type stuff, right? And start rewarding some of those people. And I like that because you have Todd McFarlane, right? Like he's been rewarding his holders like from the get-go, basically, and it's been great to see. And I'm like, hey, Vivi, check out what they're doing there. And I asked David on my AMA, I was like, I know that you were waiting for MTP and OUP to kind of come together to make this synergistic program, but like, is there anything in the interim that you can just like throw a bone to some of us? Come on, so it doesn't happen. But
I think in Auxerre, it's going to be me on one side and Randy on the other side of David, and every 10 minutes. What about now? Are we ready now? What's going on with all of you?
The MC1, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but because of the Stealing Manhattan movie, I will not be at the Auxerre event.
Oh,
so
no! What movie is this again? What movie is this?
Stealing Manhattan. It's about a jewel heist from the 90s.
Okay. And what about it?
Yeah, I play this guy named Carlos Medina. I don't know if I can say that yet. I play a corrupt security guard, and so I'll be a cool supporting actor. Yeah.
Oh man!
Woo! That's awesome.
That's really
Go,
cool,
Randy. Randy, I could see you as a security guard. I reckon. I could see you doing that. So you like a bouncer?
Cool, Randy.
It'll be cool. I get my IMDb page this year finally, and then hopefully this movie can come out next year. So that'll be exciting.
So do we want to address the FUD? There's a lot of people talking about the OMI FUD.
Sure.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Well, Randy, I feel like maybe you did a really awesome post with your story on Twitter. Can you break that down for us on this show? Because some people wouldn't have heard a story. Most maybe have, but I'm sure some people haven't heard your story before.
Yeah, sure. So this doesn't necessarily address a lot of FUD. This just addresses how I'm able to deal with it so well and be down X amount of, well, like over $1 million now. But it stems from, people just always telling me, you're this is not a smart idea, and it's better to kind of play it safe. Like when I was in the military, I said, "Hey man, it's hard out there. It's a lot of people who aren't working." And it's like, okay, I understand that, but and this is like from a senior enlisted that's been in the military for 15, 20 years that hasn't, either they've never been in the job market or they definitely haven't been in the job market recently, and they kind of just don't know what it's really like in civilian life. And I was pretty close to civilian life because I was in the job market. I was only in for like 4 years. And then in 2017, when I was in school, my summer job, I had gotten a job at a private bank, just answering phones, just like pre-qualifying people like to get their bank statements in for loans for business owners. And as soon as I saw the money there, as soon as I saw like people's bank statements, like, okay, this is what's coming in, and this is what they're spending money on. And if you're spending money on like on things that business expenses, that's cool. But if I see you at an ATM in Vegas taking out $600, $600, probably not somebody that I want to give a lot of money to. So that this really made a lot of sense to me as my first job in finance. So I immediately start my own business underneath the bank's umbrella, and everyone's like, "Listen, you're going to try to give money to business. You've never done this. This is not going to work. You're going to lose your money, and you're not going to make anything." So, and obviously, I want to prove them wrong. And then just the next year in 2018, I got into Pokemon cards, and after this, the business is finally up and running. I started in 2017 with $2,000, like to my name, like that's it. 2018, I had quite a bit more than that, in the 5-figure ranges, and I started buying children's cardboard, as people called it, like Pokemon cards. And they were high-end, they're a little more high-end cards, first edition PSA 10, and everyone was like, "This is stupid. You finally have a little bit of money. Get an apartment. Get a new car. Just start women out on proper dates. Get a bed." And I was like, "Well, I really like this stuff, and I'd rather have of this than a bed." And I started seeing some patterns, and they but people gave me crap for that for a couple years. And then in 2019, they gave me crap for buying Tesla because they thought that, hey, the stock price hasn't moved in 6 years, and the cars go on fire, and the CEO has mental health issues, and they're not profitable. But they didn't look that they weren't. It's not that they weren't profitable because they weren't selling cars. They sold everything that they made. They weren't profitable because they used that money to go and invent new cars and buy new gigafactories and hire more people. So I got a lot of crap for that. And then in 2020, when this K-shaped recovery happened, people kind of stopped giving me crap for Pokemon because that had gone up, and so had Tesla. But I spent $80,000 on one Pokemon card, and everyone on God's green earth told me that this is a stupid idea. It's like this is insane. You could put a down payment on a house, you could buy multiple new cards, you could do whatever you want. And I still didn't have a bed. And like this, people literally stopped talking to me over it. And then that next year in 2021, I had gone to I found Veve and OMI. That one card that I paid a record $80,000 for, I sold for $279. That's still the highest that it had ever been sold for to this day. And I put everything that I had, stuff from the business, Tesla stock, and profits from Pokemon cards into Veve and Ecomi. So now that everyone's been giving me crap for the last couple of years about it, or really like the last year, there's like, you're stupid. The company is dead. The token's dead. And it's like, well, you guys don't see like what I see, what I've been around for. Like this is no different than people telling me not to give people money in business. It's no different than Tesla or Pokemon cards. This is just the last in a line of everyone else being wrong and me being right. And I know that sounds so like egotistical and pat myself on the back. But that's what it was. So it's easy to deal with FUD when you can see what the future is going to bring.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good story. I really liked your post, and you got a ton of views on that as well, and like a lot of really good comments. This story is why Randy's a man. Go, Bill
Thanks,
Garner.
Bill.
Yeah, Randy, I'm just rooting for you, man. I hope this whole thing works out, brilliantly well for you, man.
It will.
And there's someone here's got some more OMI. And we've got Chris Infinity says, "Who owns Opico? I'm gonna be rich because of me." Hopefully, we'll see. See.
But the FUD a lot is really just people losing patience. Like a lot of the FUD really just come from Bitcoin ETF being approved, market pumping, and OMI staying where it is. Like the company's still making money. We didn't lose any IP. We're only gaining IP. So it's really just people's impatience, which is, I understand that 100%. I've been waiting too. I've been waiting longer than most, but just gotta be a little more patient. And I feel like that's really it. Doc, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was interesting to see when Bitcoin pumped and a lot of the other tokens pumped, right? And yet OMI went down. And you had all of these people making these declarative statements like, I told you OMI is a rug. You're all idiots for thinking that OMI could do anything. Look, this is a dead project from one day. Right. And granted, the funny thing is, I'm like, if you know the history of OMI, it's typically run counter-cyclical to like when other tokens pump, OMI goes down. When other tokens go down, OMI goes up. Right. And it just shows the lack of experience. And yet these people prop themselves up. They have like a large social media following, which is just like, oh, okay, you do you. Right. But I have been in this space. And there's a difference, I think, between like I've been around for like 3.5 years with VeVe and OMI, right? Like a lot of people have. But like in the last 3.5 years, as part of my actual job, I have been informing a lot of really important people on blockchain and crypto and its impacts and the technology behind it. But then also with some venture capital groups, really diving into pitch decks and understanding the tokens. I've been rugged. I've made great money all through, invested in a lot of projects over the last 3.5 years. And I've learned a lot, right? And there's still tons to learn. There's so much to learn there. But I feel like that experience is much greater than the large majority, not everyone, but the large majority, but especially in the VeVe community, large majority of people that talk about OMI. And I'm talking about these fudders, right, who sit there and just throw all this out like they know what they're talking about. And I'm like, okay, and that's one of the things that Rain's done too. He's like, name me 3 projects that you think are going to do great, that are a better investment that have all this. And they never respond, right? And that to me, again, is more, these people are it's a knee-jerk emotional reaction where they're just fed up and frustrated, rightfully so, right? I'm not taking that away from anyone. I'm frustrated at certain things, but I can take that emotion out of it, take a step back and look at where OMI is headed. And this is where they talk about actions speak louder than words, right? We see that they've opened up this Ecomi Telegram or Discord group, right? They've hired Foster. I mean, they had Reese, but they've hired Foster. Foster has been much more vocal and seen, right, on Twitter and in social media posts and things, interacting with the people. They have a blockchain team. On David's interview with Metamona, he did talk about, and people seem to miss that, right? Because again, people are focusing, they're always just looking for the negative and stuff. And so whenever they see one negative thing, and how David said that, there were one of the things that these centralized these exchanges look at is the community, right? And everyone focused on his words there, but they somehow missed that he's like, we have applications into multiple exchanges, right? Somehow that got missed. So all I'm saying here is when Randy talks about, hey, by Q2, I'm of the same mind. I'm of the same mind that I'm thinking that we do have more regulatory clarity. Honestly, with some of the court cases that have finally been finished, right? We've got another one coming up here in 2 days with Coinbase and the SEC, and I think that that's more related to staking, right? But like, so multiple lawsuits that have been settled that the SEC has lost, where people are starting to see like, hey, if I was taken to court now, I feel like there's been a precedent set here where we're going to feel a lot more comfortable with that, right? So I do believe that we're going to start seeing a lot more things ramp up. And I believe, and this is just from my experience, my assumptions, is that one of the things that the team was also really working on is utility, to kind of feel like to even more so strengthen the argument that it's not a security, that it's a utility token, right? And that people are going to be using it as such. And so having the bronze tickets, having some of this utility in place before they start really ramping up that. So again, that's just me, but like, again, I think it's just a lack of experience in the space for the majority of people. Now, there's some people who have more experience or just experienced as I am, and they are against OMI, and that's okay too. But most of the FUD and all of the sentiment that I saw were from people who are not experienced, truly experienced in the crypto space. And for me, I don't even engage those comments because it's a losing battle, because they're not going to own up to the fact that they don't know what they're talking about.
So Dr. Stuff, one thing interesting with a lot of OMI holders is majority of people that have bought OMI, it's like the only token they've ever got. So you're right, that like majority of them have no idea about investing at all. I know so many people that I've helped get into OMI and they just don't understand the space at all. And obviously that's partly my fault for getting them into OMI when they're not really that interested. They're just like, oh, it's a way to make, like, it's a good investment. But you know, like a lot of people I've spoke to have said like they've gone to OMI, they've gone to VeVe, but they've never had any other crypto. So a lot of them don't understand investments or markets at all. I've been investing since 2018, 2019 now. And it's I'm still learning. Like you just keep learning. It's a very, very big learning journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, look, OMI is a utility token. So it's intrinsically tied to VeVe. So, if you have OMI and you're hoping that somehow it gets listed on some exchange and suddenly it goes up and then you sell it, I'm not sure you're going to find what you're looking for anytime soon in that type of, like the team's not waiting here to work for people who want to just list it and dump it and this, that, and the other. They're building. They're building OMI to be very tightly tied into VeVe and have utility on VeVe. So the first step was creating some points, MCP points for VeVe. Then the next step is to create these tickets with which you can get unique and special things on VeVe. And, in my humble opinion, there has to be a lot of value tied to it. The day that every common person, every VeVe user who's not even in OMI suddenly realizes, oh my God, if I have OMI, I get more points. If I have OMI, I get these tickets. If I get these tickets, I get this really amazing thing. That will drive demand for OMI. That will then drive, all the other, benefits of OMI. That's when your OMI will start going up in a steady manner. And that's when you're going to make your money on this thing. And oh, by the way, if you yourself can't see yourself doing anything other than selling your OMI to make money, you ain't going to make that money, brother. Somebody's got to see some value in that OMI. This is not like, why would anybody buy OMI until there is that, value to that OMI? And really, it's just the start right now. And you know what? So those are all the, the one side of the story. The other side of the story, look, man, if you're in the tech space, you need speed. VeVe needs to be fast. VeVe needs to learn speed. There's not a chance in hell you're going to succeed in tech without speed. It might take you a while to build your company. It might take you a while to get your tech stack scaled. It might take you a while to kind of hire the right people and get all that stuff. And there's, a certain degree of patience people have for all of that. But there's a day when you're going to have to start delivering on your tech and you're going to have to bring new things in at a faster pace. Speed is everything. In fact, if there's one advice I give David, is when you hire any new person in Veve, the first question you have to ask them is, tell me of a time when, things were running slow and you speeded things up. Answer that question. If you fail on that question, like, you're probably not the right fit, And then also anybody who's at Veve today, man, like their goals, and their annual reviews and stuff. Like, what did you do to speed, this X up by or Y up by this, or this? So that speed, it's a very critical dimension, man. Like, people will forgive you for a lot of things for a period of time, but you cannot hope to succeed in tech without speed. Anyway, I'll pause there, man. But that's, dude, like, speed. I need speed from Veve. They got to figure this out. I get that they have re-platformed. I get that they're integrated MCP, OUP. I get the lawsuits. I get all the other stuff. It might take another 3 months. I'm patient. Might take another 6 months. I'll still be patient. But then you got to deliver fast after that. You got to have speed. Otherwise, somebody else will come and eat your lunch, Somebody else will come and take your IP. Somebody else will come and, copy your tech. All that shit will go down. So Veve is the undisputed leader today. And the world is for them to have. And so we'll see, man.
So I agreed with on the speed, as Jeremy says. It's a sprint, not a marathon, and there's definitely a first mover's advantage. I do want, and I'll get to that in a second. I do want to go over. You said, why would you buy OMI now? You have to give people a reason, and yes, most people will wait until there's demand. Most people will wait till there's a reason. But smart money will get in first. Smart term money is already here. They've already gotten in, but that smart money will move first, and they'll go in and by all means, there's a chance that you could front run the markets where this just happens to pump because the narrative changes, as Crypto Rain says. And if that does, then there's a chance to front run it and beat it. But I mean, why would you want to wait until OMI has 5x, 6x? People start talking about it. You hear about it at a barbecue. Okay, it's 10x by that point. You get it then, pay $6,000 for a million OMI versus 600. I would rather buy in now, but that's just me. And I understand we could be down here for several more months, even the rest of the year. There's no crystal ball to that. But for the speed, and again, I know a lot of these things that I'm about to talk about are fairly low level and might not take as much things, but I think that you do have to count crafting, waitlist, digital drop with Funko, exclusive Veve branded physical comic books, browsers for the mobile app, VeVeVerse invites, OMI staking, MCP points calculation and interface, video breakdowns for new drops, embedded YouTube videos on the platform, enhanced search features, launch Veve blogs, removing marketplace reopening wait times, push notifications on the mobile app, advertising rollouts, gold and silver logo utility, hiring an entire new blockchain team, profile URL, exporting AR photos, drops with new brands including Lamborghini, Le Bouton, Sesame Street, Astro Boy, RoboCop, Monster Hunter, Stan Lee, Avatar, Ubisoft, and OMI utility. More OMI utility had began just 12 days ago or 13 days ago. And that's just all in 2023. So I get it. It's not a big music vertical that we're hopefully expecting in March, but it's, I feel like all of those combined together, Fusion Ha, that I feel like they count for something.
Yes, that was a lot of update traffic. That was Veve. Mostly Veve. What was that?
Like Randy, I like what you're saying, but look, here's the reality. The ground reality of this is, when you buy a token hoping something happens, inherently the word there is hope. So you're taking a risk, and that's why they call it risk reward. So by putting money early before things are developed, there is a risk that you are taking, and by taking that risk, you may get rewarded a lot of money, or you may not. But that risk is something you're taking. The way the other way to look at it is, look, man, there's MCP. We have MCP. We all have lots and lots of points. I mean, I have close to 4.5 million. There are people who have 17 million MCP points. There are levels. There are people at master collector level. There's people at all these other levels. Now there's this bronze ticket. But there's not that gratification for either the points, right? Sure, I'm getting more points and I'm going to the next level, but does the gratification of the point hadn't happened as yet? And nor has the gratification for the OMI or the bronze ticket or any of this happened, you don't even know what you're going to get for the bronze ticket, right? You get a bronze ticket. What are you going to do with the bronze ticket? Right? Like, what are you going to get for the bronze ticket, right? Is it going to be a 1 in 10? One of each one that has a bronze ticket will get a 1 of 1 or 1 of 100. How rare is it going to be? How cool is it going to be? What status do you get for it? You don't know all these things. So, like, that's where I think people have to have an understanding that if you put money now, you're getting in early, but you also take a big ass risk, right? I mean, just think of it that way. And my sense is, once VeVe delivers, and I'm a big believer in David's vision. I'm a big believer in his intent, I'm in his work ethos, and I'm a big believer that these guys will eventually deliver, even though they're slow now. Their commitment to this damn thing is insane, right? I believe all these things. So eventually, my belief is they'll get there. So I'm here. But make sure you understand why you're here and what risk you're taking, right?
I like talking about risk. That's one of the things I specialize in. And Sanjay, if we take the risk on a scale of 1 to 10, whatever the risk was to invest in OMI in 3 years ago when it was not confirmed we had Marvel or Disney or half of the IPs that we have, when the app was clunky, where you couldn't list or buy on the marketplace while a drop was happening, you couldn't even get a drop most times. I think the risk was much greater 3 years ago than it is today.
Absolutely.
And again, like I've heard, competition is coming. Oh, Recur is the VeVe killer, and Recur's out of business now. And then I've heard not necessarily a VeVe killer, but like, hey, this the person who wrote what Ready Player One is partnering with VeVeVerse and they're creating the ReadyVerse. And I've heard some people be like, oh, this is what VeVe's supposed to be, and they haven't even started yet. They don't have a product. So as far as competition goes, I don't think VeVe has any serious competition yet, but I do think the risk is much lower. I don't know what you would rate the risk now on a 1 to 10 compared to what it was like 3 years ago.
I agree with you. Your point about the level of risk now is then it was like 5 people and 10 people or maybe 15 people in a company, right? Today they've got more than 100 people. They got more than 50, in engineering alone. So they've got the people, they've got the money coming in through the app, and they're financially in better position today than they ever were. They've got a community. My belief, and Randy, I think the X factor on VeVe really is, look, as much as the people who love VeVe and are here still, and that's a smaller subset of everybody that's that was in here. They're here for the long haul. Hopefully, all of them stay. Maybe most of them will be here. However, the X factor for VeVe is all the people that left along the way. They all came here for something. And if they see that VeVe is delivering, right? And if they see that value emerging from it, if they see that there is value to that OMI staking, or putting the OMI in the app, and there's value to the bronze ticket, and there's this IP that's coming, and there's more interest, and the VeVeVerse has worked out. To me, all those people come back in at a much lower price point compared to any other company. Any other company has to go and acquire these customers. It costs a lot of money. For VeVe, you have I believe at least 30 to 100,000 people who'll come back into the app if they get it to work right. Like, tell me which guy in his right mind will not go for the Matt Gondek drop? Scarce, amazing. Like, you got to be completely out of your mind to not go for that.
20 SRs, 20. That's
wild. Right. Why would you not?
What?
With the physical.
When's that?
Counterpart.
Do you have a date on that?
Yeah. So these are the types of things, though, Sanjay. Like, a couple of things. I want to back up and talk a little bit more about the crypto markets in general, and because you talk about utility and who's going to want to buy the token when there's no utility. People do that all the time in crypto. Most of crypto, honestly, is speculation on what it could be, right? It's this degen gambling. Like, that happens all the time. And so that's why I always talk about narratives, because narratives are important. And if OMI and VeVe are in a narrative that hits during crypto, the token will pump. The token will pump regardless of how many exchanges they have. The token will pump regardless if they have all of the utility for the token or not, because it's just in the narrative and people speculate on that. That happens time and time again. So when I sit there and I see people, like, again, when people were celebrating and it's like, oh, all of the market's up except for OMI and it's all dead, I'm like, it literally takes one narrative and there could be a God candle for OMI. Like, and people just don't understand that. And so when I see all these people again, like dancing, you know, and celebrating, first of all, like, what kind of a life do you like? I just feel so bad. I really do. When I look at the people that they're constantly posting all of the FUD on VeVe, like all the time, like that's their life on Twitter, right? And I'm just like, that's sad, man. Like I just, like, man, I hope that they find something else that can bring them actual joy, you know, as opposed to negative attention, right? So there's the first thing there. But like, with the Matt Gondek drop and this utility, like that's what we need to start seeing, right? Like you said, we have these MCP points, but we can't do anything with them. We have these bronze tickets, we can't do anything. But once we do, that's when the FOMO starts to set in, right? That's when the speculation again starts to happen as to what's the next thing that they're going to drop. So my speculation or assumption is that whatever this first drop is, that's only rewarding the people who have the bronze tickets, would be something very, very massive, that people are going to be super mad that VeVe dropped it and it's only for them. And it's like, nope, everyone had a chance. Everyone had a chance and you decided not to do it. And the people who took the risk to do that are going to be rewarded. And the more they send that message, right, of the utility that's happening, and whether it's independent artists or even Disney, right? We talked about, like, Rain and I asked David the question and we're like, you know, has Disney or Marvel ever talked about two things, like either doing retroactive rewards, right? Like, oh, hey, by the way, you guys held the platinum set, this platinum set. And because you did that, we're going to airdrop you something unannounced. What starts to happen then is people are like, I better start holding some more stuff here because I don't know what other rewards I can do. Like I might get, right? And then there's even the chance of like in real life stuff. And like these IPs are missing out massively on the money they could earn two ways, from providing in real life events and rewards for that. Then the NFTs that they have on VeVe are going to sell at a higher premium. And there's going to be more churn, so they're going to make more revenue from that. And then when people come to those events, they're spending money anyways. They might get into the event free, but they're still going to be spending money. And it's mind-boggling to me that they have, as smart as some of these companies are and how long they've been around, that they are not seeing that they are missing out on that opportunity. It's wild to me. Absolutely.
I agree
wild.
with you, man. I'm absolutely agree with you. You know, if VeVe is able to make the 10 million OMI that you stake in the app more valuable in terms of the output from that, what you get from it. Said differently, you put the 10 million, it sits there, but the benefits you get from it, like the bronze ticket, and from the bronze ticket, you go get all these collectibles that are in the market are worth more than what you bought that OMI for. To me, that's the day it's a real win, because now you've got more of an incentive to hold that OMI and reap all these benefits from it rather than dump it. And the more people want to hold that OMI, the more the price will go up, right? So there has to be that incentive for everybody that has OMI that they hold it, because there's more value in holding it. And I think that, you know, obviously I have no insider knowledge other than, you know, I only know that there's a bronze ticket, which everybody else does. But I would love to see VeVe develop that. And for anybody who's just holding OMI, man, and just saying, hey, you know, let me not put it in the app and, you know, dump it or whatever and sell it for whatever money, you know, focus on the other side of it too, brother. I think you're going to need the other side, because that's what the team's focused on. They're not focused on freaking pumping it anywhere. They're focused on building utility in the app.
Sorry, my microphone was muted. So I was just saying, Sanjay, you got a fan over here.
Well, I don't know, man. We'll see. We gotta all win together, right?
Yeah, definitely. Randy, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I muted myself to take a bite of my muffin. That sounded so dirty. For people that are just listening, I have an actual muffin here. Anyway, I wanted to, when Dr. Stuff said, like, hey, it's not going to take much for the narrative to hit and you could have a God candle. And part of what I really want to talk about is really like the macro here. And I don't know if people really study that. A lot of times we're kind of in our own fish bowls. Like it's just about Veve and OMI, and we don't really care about other stuff that's going on. And that's fine. But I do think, ignore what else is going on at your own peril. We were supposed to have another rate hike, but then they had mentioned that in Q1 we're likely going to have a rate cut. We don't know what it is. It's likely going to be maybe like 0.25%. And if that happens, you have a large amount of like money from the market. It's estimated, I think, about $1 trillion going into the markets by about midsummer, figuring it takes about 6 months. And if that happens in conjunction with Biden's presidential campaign saying like, hey, he's campaigning on markets and he's going to want, some maybe quantitative easing, or there's just a lot of money that could go into here. And that's not including all the money that's going to be made from Bitcoin ETFs and that trickle down. There's a very good chance that you have this perfect storm happen where things will pump for no reason, as they always do. But there was a quote the other day from, I think it was Chamath Palihapitiya. He goes on Twitter and says that 12% of American families are now millionaires, which is a lot. And it means that just about 16 million American families throughout the entire, just the country, just the US, have a wealth of exceeding 1 million, which is up 9.8 from 9.8 million families in 2019. So now you have that many more millionaires coming into the space with having a lot more money, people that have those really excessive dual incomes. This is not I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, I would never spend $12,000 on a 1 of 7 Aston Martin. Well, somebody did. Or somebody saying I would never spend $25,000 on just one partner statue. It was a special mint, but someone did. This type of money is not. Yes, I understand that that's a lot of money. That's a car. That could be a down payment or whatever. But to some people, that is nothing. Like to a bunch of people that are out there, Dr. Profit could probably lose $80,000 and not notice for like weeks, or not notice ever. You probably lose like $800,000, and it might take a minute, and he might be like, "Oh, kind of sucks." There's just people like that, and when you have something that's super scarce and that's super rare, there'll come this inflection point where there's only so many people that can have that to sell versus the amount of people that want that to get. I feel like a lot of the perfect storms coming, this could really explode. But again, just my opinions on it.
So I want to jump into this comment. This YHWH, they keep talking about.
Yeah.
Look, you're gonna have to be more specific. I don't know what you're talking about, but there is no OMI that got locked up and they lost the key. So let's just get that clear. That never happened. Now there was OMI that did get locked up via smart contract.
Yeah.
And when it's via smart contract, there's no key or anything that they can get to get that OMI back. Now you have wallets that may have had OMI that have been dormant, that have been sitting there, and that could have been from one of the founders that has just had those tokens, and they've been unloading. In fact, one of the founders has been unloading a lot of OMI, and I say that because one of my buddies, who's, I wouldn't say he's like a whale, but he's a decent. I mean, like maybe like a big dolphin or something. But I mean, he bought like 120,000 OMI, right? 120 million OMI, and like he's like, the price didn't change at all. That's not normal. That's not normal for any token to spend that much, especially with like the amount of liquidity that's in the markets, right? That actually should have pumped the price quite a bit. And so that's where I think this is one of the disadvantages that the structure right now of OMI, when you do have some massive whales with lower liquidity, it really can, if they're dumping, right? If they're selling at a certain price point, and they're like, as long as they hit this price point, I'm selling. Then as someone buys, right, and the token price starts to go up, then that whale, whether they have a bot or they're manually watching, will then lower the price back down to that price point just so that their tokens sell, so they can get out of the price point that they fill. That eventually will go away at some point, right? But it hasn't yet. So there is that. So maybe that's what you're talking about there. But there is no lost token, lost keys that, they told us they were lost, and some magically it's happened again. They were locked via smart contract, and that is there. That is there. Yeah, I think that's
incredible.
Janik is the founder that's been selling, and I think that he had some like 20 billion around there, right? Like a substantial amount.
Yeah, a lot.
So that's taking a while with the liquidity that we have. But again, all it takes is a narrative, right? And instead of, I mean, you look at some of these tokens when a narrative hits, and the volume will go from like 20,000, 50,000 a day to like 20 million a day. So when that happens, right, all of that, whoever's selling and stuff like that, those tokens get eaten up like that, and then it's gone. But that is a risk right now with OMI, right? And I do think that that's one of the reasons that it has been held down artificially, if you want to call it that. I mean, maybe not artificially. It's just the structure of the tokenomics there. So it is something to be aware of, right? And I am aware of that, and I'm fine buying because again, one other thing that I want to address. People keep talking about more exchanges, which I get because we've been promised those. So I can get that frustration, and I'm with you, right? Like I definitely made some moves believing that we are going to get exchanges, and we didn't get them. But I also think that people think that the exchanges are this saving grace, and it's the only reason why the OMI token hasn't pumped. But I'll give you a perfect example is look at ApeCoin. Okay, so Bored Ape Yacht Club, the most successful NFT project in the entire space, right? Hands down, billions and billions of dollars in volume, okay? Their Ape token. Look at how bad it's down. And look at, I mean, on the Bitcoin news, it did pump. Like when OMI went down, it pumped like 10%. It's back down. Like, and they're on all of the exchanges. So I just want you to know, exchanges do help with liquidity and being able to sell your token or being able to buy it is easier. But one of the big things in crypto is the narrative. So just keep that in mind. But that being said, I'm with you in that I would still love for the team to complete the promises that they had made. That's a big deal. So I don't want to take that away from me.
I think that's a bigger deal. Dr. Stuff is like is not the exchanges to help us get the price pump, but the exchanges to prove that they can deliver. I think that'll make a big difference once we get that happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going. I saw an interesting comment here. What do you guys think if they integrated MetaMask with the web app? That would be pretty cool. I don't know how that would work.
Bring outside assets into VeVeVerse, correct?
I think so, as well as maybe even just the VV app as well, or the web version of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, VeVeVerse would be great because they've talked about being able to bring other assets in, so I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah, they said that. Yeah, we could bring other assets into VeVeVerse. Like maybe you could bring your apes in or something.
Yeah, I mean they already did that with the Tales of Riso. Like he brought in the fog and he brought in a couple of other things. I think that's why some of the quality went down as well.
Yeah, well, I'm in the VeVeVerse beta, and I can tell you guys that it's real, right? I'm in there, and I play around with it. When you go from beta into a bigger sort of a release where you have more people come in, there's things that you need to do to, make it fast enough and, conducive for other people to come in. And I've seen a lot of progress, towards that end with what I'm seeing. I won't talk about it. I have an NDA in place. I can't talk about, that thing in a lot of depth.
But
I can tell you that it's been a lot of progress on it. I've seen the improvement over the last couple of weeks, and it is unfortunate that it didn't roll out at that time, that earlier and stuff, but there's nothing worse than trying to roll it out when you've got one or two things left to do to make it optimal for everybody. You'd rather just take the hit, let people say what they got to say, get those 2 things, 3 things done, and then put it out. And I've seen a lot of progress on those 2 things, 3 things that, may be the reason. So I think it's around the corner, guys. I really think it's around the corner.
I'm excited. You can see my headset here. I'm just ready. I'm ready. Yeah. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm excited for Apple Vision Pro coming. And this is where, people are speculating as to whether or not Veve is going to have an app. Like from what David has said, like when it first releases, they said no, they're working on it. Right? But it's not going to be right when it releases. I feel like they've missed a big opportunity there to not have it rolling right when it releases. I think that would have gotten a substantial amount of exposure, but still having it there, as long as it looks good, they can still make a big splash, right? When people get in there with the AR, VR stuff. The one thing, though, I want to talk about with the VeVeVerse that is so frustrating. I talked about this on my last live stream. Is this is something that they really need to shore up, but it's the communication and transparency. We were promised when Dan interviewed with Will and Mr. V, right? That he was like around middle of November, I'm going to be making a decision on bringing more people in. Then we didn't hear anything. Then people got the emails. Everyone got really excited. And then David, you came out and said, hey, that was kind of a little bit premature. But in between there, if there's hiccups, just coming out and saying, hey guys, short little video. We wanted to update you guys. We had said middle of November. There's been some things that we've run into as more people have gotten into this area of the VeVeVerse that we need to shore up before we're ready to do that. That's the type of little communication that just lets us know, instead of just this silence. That's maddening, and there's no reason for it. There really isn't. Now there's certain things, right, where it's legally we can't talk about it. They can even say, hey, due to NDAs, due to regulatory things, this is something that we're not ready to talk about yet after speaking with our legal team. Boom. It's that amount of simple transparency that is so maddening, because I've seen so many other projects do that, and yet Veve hasn't done that. I don't know why. So that's one thing that I just am I hope I'm gonna continue to beat this drum, in a very kind and polite way, right? But it is something that it would help save so much FUD from themselves.
So Dr. Self, Rain always talks about Cardano and how it's very similar to OMI. And one big difference is Charles Hodgkinson always came on live streaming and just talking about all the problems they're facing and just giving constant transparency and information about why things aren't rolling out. And that I definitely can see the issues we've had with that. And I just want to quickly go over this. Anyone heard of this music festival? SXSW Music Festival.
Yeah, South by South. What is it?
Is Veve
South by Southwest?
South by
Is
South.
Veve going to be there? Are they going to be there officially?
I don't know if they'll have a booth there, but I know David's going. I don't know how many of the team are going though.
Wasn't that something like Vault somehow had a call with David Yu and Vault was the one who said this or something?
Yeah, that is confirmed though that they are going. Despite the where the news came from, it was confirmed that they will be going there.
Awesome. It's exciting. And Sanjay, you about to say something?
No, I was going to say South by Southwest is in Austin, Texas. It's held every year. It celebrates tech, culture, music, art, and all of that stuff together. There are multiple tracks to it. I've never been to South by Southwest, but I have a lot of friends who've gone and speak very highly about it. It's in March 2nd week is when it is, so it's not that far away. And I don't know the plans of the team specifically, but I heard just like you guys that the team's going to be there. I don't know if it's only David and Dan or just David or David and Dan plus the rest of the team. And I don't know all the other aspects of it. And honestly, I don't even know whether it's music NFT or not, because there's more to South by Southwest than just music. But if I had to guess, I'd probably think, I probably got to do with music, right? They're not going to be going to South by Southwest.
It could be a good place to launch it,
right?
Yeah. What you said sounds like a really good place. Yeah. We just have a few comments here that are basically to our communication. Yeah, it would be awesome if we could get some more, maybe not monthly, maybe just quarterly. I don't know what type of updates we get now. Just sort of all over the place. There's no consistency. Communication is very important to the community. Mostly we get a few tweets now.
You're not going to have consistent updates. I mean, not everything goes on. I mean, we're lucky that we get the app updates once a month, and then that's something we expect now, and that's something that we get. Even though most of the time it's just minor fixes and updates. Listen, not everything takes the same amount of time. The amount of time it takes to launch a music vertical versus anime versus MCP points or whatever, they all take different times. So you can't just squeeze that into a 1 month thing. And again, any type of, and I know they're not a public company, they're private, but even public companies only have not AMAs, they just have earnings
quarterly,
calls
right?
Once a quarter.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect VeVe to do something like that, especially if there's nothing to report, especially if they want to kind of keep what they're working on a secret. Because they've gotten burned by that before. Hey, we're working on this, and people demand timelines, and they say the timelines, they don't hit the timelines, and then they create the FUD-storm.
But they don't communicate why
simple...
the timelines haven't been hit. That's the missing link, right? Like you've got cornucopias. They have a rabid community. They are building a phenomenal metaverse game. Like they already have like the racing is out, like the beta testing, and they do the CEOs, the co-CEOs do a weekly Copy Cafe is what it's called, and they talk about the things that they're building, the things that they're working on. Now, it is different, right? It's not apples to apples because they are just working on their IP. VeVe has, Disney, Marvel, like they got a ton of people that they're trying to work with. There's a lot more, right, of things like stirring it. But like at the same time, I think it's very helpful actually to tell us what they're working on. And even if it's just like, hey, as an FYI, like this is when we think it's going to be, but there are issues that could pop up, and then talking about those issues the next time and saying, Cornucopias has done that. They're like, hey, FYI, we know we promised that it was going to get done this quarter. It didn't happen, and here's why. And guess what? Because of these issues, it's actually going to take us much longer than we thought, and it's probably not going to come out for 2 more quarters, right? And there were some people that were like, but then at least they know. And that's the thing. That's the most maddening thing is that they communicate something to us, and I get like the actions are louder than words. But let me tell you, with some of the promises, like the VeVeVerse, right, that we were promised last, like 2022 December, that it was going to be rolling out at the beginning of January 2023, and then it didn't happen, and we've almost heard nothing since. That just creates a terrible FUD storm that's not needed. Like they could have just continued to talk about, hey, these are the things we're working through. There's some improvements that we've got to get in this area. Oh, something happened with a vendor on something, like whatever that is, to a certain extent, where they're just communicating. And the fact that doesn't happen, man, it's not okay.
So let me, I agree with you. Communication should improve, but I'm not going to go all the way as far as you do, Dr. Stuff, on that. And here's the reason why. It's great. We disagreed on it too, but I'll just make my point on it. Look, man, Amazon, there was a rule, very simple. The day you have something to tell a customer that something's coming out, that's the day you put a press release. Other than that, everything else is internal baseball. The problem is if VeVe comes out tomorrow and says, hey, we have 2 issues, something's going on here with this VeVeVerse and this other thing, and we're working on it, and we're trying to get it out as soon as we can. They leave it at that. What happens is, and everybody thinks, oh, okay, they shouldn't put a date on it because they're not sure, right? And then if some breach happens, some regulatory something happens, some drop doesn't go well, somebody had to put some resources somewhere, something else, some other IP, some issue came up, they had to move the team from here to there. That shit goes on all day long in every company, right? Now, if they miss that date, now it's like, oh, okay. And you know what? If they say that, all the other things, if they say that, there's not going to be less FUD. There's going to be more FUD. People are going to say, oh, yeah, right. You were working on, the speed of this, and you were working on the something else of this one. Yeah, right. It took 2 weeks to do that. So that shit's going to continue. It's just like put your hands in your pocket and keep your mouth shut till the day you have something to announce. And the day you have something to announce it properly. And you know what? To me, that would be, the way to go. And that doesn't mean that the communication is not good. Doesn't mean that there's not that need to communicate. At a high level, they should communicate, look, we are working on VeVeVerse. We're in the beta. We're working on getting the next set of users on. Timing, TBD. I think that mid-November timeline was just bad again. That's when they broke their own rule. Like, don't even say that. When you're ready, bring it out. Otherwise, just say, look, we're working on the bronze ticket. We expect to hit the bronze ticket in this period. And, directionally. High level, we're creating more utility for OMI in the app. Those kind of things, they should improve communication. But don't say any specific date of anything and any reason for that either. Because first of all, it's not required. Secondly, it creates more FUD. I mean, if we think this is FUD, that'll be even more, I think.
And I think we will disagree to a certain extent on this point. And that's good. This is good discussion. I like this, right?
That's good discussion.
And you're coming from the tech space, so I have a couple questions for you. Number one, my understanding, right, in working with some companies that work with fintechs and things, when you're saying like they don't have a date, that's surprising to me, because my understanding in general is devs should understand the timing of how long something should typically take to build out, and they should have a reasonable expectation of that. So to say that they don't know how long it's going to take is surprising, or at least certain increments. It's like,
well, it's not that they don't know how long it's going to take. The problem is priorities shift, teams shift, resources shift.
Yeah.
Like for example, if Apple goes and changes something in the system, or something goes wrong, or somebody tried to hack the system, or some other thing broke somewhere, or Disney came and said, look, we're doing this very special event, man, they're going to bend to a Disney any day.
Yeah.
If Disney comes to David, and David gets a call from the CEO or whatever, the next level down from Disney, that says, look, man, it's our platinum, whatever the hell else, and we suddenly thought we're going to do these 2 things. Instead, we're now going to do these 3 other things. They're going to do it, man. They're going to do it. In fact, they might move things around. Suddenly, something else comes up. My sense is that directionally, when you want to deliver stuff, but there's a lot of, competing priorities in a company like this that causes you to either stop work on something or becomes a barrier. Or your vendor might become a barrier. Vendor has some problem. Yeah. They're not able to deliver on something. You ask them to do something else goes wrong. You can never guess, man. So don't put any effing dates out there until you're ready.
So I'll agree with that.
Or you're 100% certain that it will be ready. Like literally 100% certain that it'll be ready. Don't put a date out there. Just say, we're working on this. This is our direction. This is our approach, period.
Yeah. Well, so here's where I'll say that, like, creating more FUD, like, I'll disagree. And this is just from my experience in different communities that have done this. You're going to have the people that no matter what, they're going to FUD.
That's true.
Right?
True.
So those are the people, and they're always the loudest. But what happens is the community, right? They are getting this exposure from those FUDders all the time, right? And there are some times where they're like, yeah, this time the FUDders are right? About the VeVeVerse, about some of these missed timelines, and like I
thought all bullshit.
More about the previous promises that still haven't come to pass yet. That's what I'm talking about. As opposed to like future things. Fine, don't tell us about future things. Let us be surprised. That's wonderful. But on the things that you've already promised as timelines, and those have passed and passed and passed and passed, even if not you're giving us timelines anymore, just being like, hey, we're working on this. Here's some of the issues, right? And this is what we're trying to work through. And once some of this is done, bam, then we'll have that. But like, again, it's breeded so much distrust from giving these timelines, but then no communication whatsoever as to why they were superseded or passed and passed and passed. That's where I think that they're shooting themselves in the foot on it, right? But I agree with you, wise, that like, hey man, I would love to just be surprised about something and be like, bam, we have the music vertical, bam, we have the sports vertical, bam, we can trade now with MCP points, we can transfer, all that stuff, right?
I think Veve's still living from some of the sins of the past of kind of committing to shit, not being able to deliver on those things. Like I think, the other thing I think we underestimate sitting outside of Veve is leave VeVeVerse for a minute, right? Just talk about the app itself. There's a lot of interconnectedness to the app. Like you cannot roll out, the bronze tickets until you have a certain drop mechanic ready. You can't do that until you have something else fixed. And, you don't want to do something, you could, but you don't want to do something until the web app is ready, and you don't want to do that till the web app is ready for all kinds of users, and there may be, we don't know all this other shit, right? Like maybe there's some feature that's held up in some country regulatorily, there's some issue with some freaking, using OMI in a certain way in some market, or they need clarity on whether you can get something for something and then do something, but it's still tied to OMI, Like, I think we underestimate all that stuff. And I think, if one thing slips, then 2 other things slip, and then something else slips and 3 other things slip. So you might have the best intention, in a world where you say, you promised me something and you'll deliver it on this date, it assumes that you're, in a parallel manner, started on a certain date and you're going to finish it on a certain date. What you don't understand is all the other complexities of these other things. And that's why it's sort of like, they were re-platforming the app. They were redoing basic feature functionality in the app. They're doing all this stuff, man. And I think that to commit to any damn thing with a specific date, I don't think it's good. I think just saying, here's the feature functionality we hope to launch in 2024. No promises, and with all the caveats on it, great. But specific to VeVeVerse, given that Dan did say that's coming out in the mid-November, I think now they should come out and say, yeah, there are two things more, but anyway.
Yeah.
We have a funny comment to break up the this is how I see it. VeVeVerse. We're going to bus. Luckily, Randy and I have been vasectomized. Have you, Randy?
No, I wanted to. In the military, you get.
Wait, why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about this?
I mean, it was a question.
Why
are we off topic?
All right, we'll gloss over that for now and come back to that at a later date.
That's a late night space, Randy.
Yeah,
you talk about vasectomy.
Yeah.
Another thing is, do you guys remember this?
No.
There's a guy who did hentai type. I think he did drawings on Twitter of like VV collectibles and stuff. And I don't know, he's gone missing maybe.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's definitely there's definitely has to be another way, a middle way, right? The middle way between both of what you guys want.
I think so.
I think Veve and Ecomi need to put in, because I don't think the tweets that we're getting are really doing justice for all the people that are worried.
But at the end of the day, speed comes down to speed, man. Like if you're not fast enough,
well, we all agree on that.
Much communication you have, you're going to create displeasure, right?
And you nailed that so well earlier on.
Like you need the speed. The speed has to come. Then the communication will all look great.
Yeah, well, exactly. We don't really need communication if the speed's there and we keep getting features released, right? But at the moment we're getting neither, so that's where the fun starts.
I love Pink Panther's comment, and this is true though. I mean, there are certain communities like the Bitcoin maxis against the ETH maxis and stuff like that. Like the FUD that those people will go at each other with is pretty substantial as well. But from like an altcoin perspective, absolutely. And that's actually what I continue to say this. It makes me so bullish on Veve. If there's a project that people are so passionate about that they literally create FUD profiles just to FUD Veve, there's something about that project that they can't let go of, right? You can leave Veve, but you can't leave it alone. And to me, that is so. I want to get into more projects like that, right? Where the FUD, like the people who are so there's so much energy and passion about that, is because at one point, right, they were so excited about Veve and then they were disappointed. And so then they turned right to the villain, right? That's their villain. What do they call that? The villain. The what?
The villain arc.
Yeah, the villain arc. Yeah. So, but anyways, it makes me bullish. It makes me more bullish about Veve, because if Veve was a nothing burger, they just leave.
Right? Yeah, people are sucked in. They're stuck.
They continue to stick around. I'm like, well, there's something about this project that's powerful, and I'm here for it.
I think, one thing that you have to sort of admire about Veve as well is it's a comprehensive project in a plan. Like for example, like I like NFTs. I buy some NFTs outside of Veve, but not a lot. Like I won't buy. I'm not into every project. I'll maybe, even McFarlane, I went and picked up 2-3 things, go to these, I won't name any of these projects, but I went to these other projects. I go buy 2-3 things, 4 things, but I'm not in their, Discord, and I'm not in their, every AMAs and whatever, and all the drops and stuff, because I really don't want to, like I want all my stuff on Veve to be brought into VeVeVerse. I want it to be in one place. I want to be able to manage all these digital assets in one place. I want to be able to, do stuff with them, whether it's in AR, VR, and there's that ability to kind of bring it all, and different IPs coming together. If anything, it's even great if they bring in that whole MetaMask ability. You plug in your MetaMask and you can bring in outside assets into VeVeVerse and stuff too. I like all of that stuff. And so that's why I'm, bigger in Veve. I do like other stuff. I go for other stuff, but I'm not like, I don't, go and buy everything or like a lot of stuff in these other places. Just the really, really cool stuff that I really want,
Yeah, and man, Sanjay, your stack of collectibles is is impressive, right? I thought it was so funny because you're just talking about, oh, I got like 4 million points, right? Just like nonchalant, just like talking about that, and everyone's like, yo, what? I've got like 200,000 points, right? Yeah, Sanjay is a massive collector, and I will agree to a certain extent. Like, I love Veve, and definitely the largest like NFT portfolio that I have is on Veve. But I don't like. I guess, and this is where my crypto investing comes in, is I think that there are multiple other projects that can still do well. And I'll tell you what, for example, with DC migrating to Candy, if somehow those NFT, like those comic books, become interoperable, where they can be sold on OpenSea or some of these other ones, the value will skyrocket there, right? And I think that they're probably closer potentially to being able to do that than Veve is. But Veve also has this potential where they create this VeVeVerse, and that's where everyone wants to import their assets to there, right? And that's the power that Veve could have there. And that's what's exciting there. But like for me, yeah, I love collecting the comics, or I have Todd McFarlane stuff. Definitely have DC comic in the back cows. I am a little bit upset at Cryptoys, and I like ever since. And this is one thing like that I'm still so upset about is I was an early adopter of Cryptoys. I bought a lot of their stuff, right, and spent quite a bit of money. And then they hadn't sold out on their Star Wars, and so they did this buy one get one. Which, look, I get it if they want to sell out, but man, did that screw over their OG investors, right? Because all of a sudden, all the money I spent was cut in half. The value, everything was cut in half with that one move. And I'm like, you could have done like an airdrop or done something right to reward those people who believed in you first, or were willing to take that risk. And man, oh man, I have not bought a single thing since because of that. And no apology, no, like nothing. Those type of things, right? Everyone makes mistakes, and I get that, but like when you pull a move like that just so substantially impacts the first, like original believers,
man, if every one of these other projects is like Veve, man, I will be bald. So I don't want that headache, man. I've gone through this one like that 3-year journey. Fuck no more. Not gonna do. Sorry.
Check this out. This guy Brian said he was just sitting there, and our tab just opens up. Google knows him too well.
Let's go. I know Brian. I'm going to shout out to Brian. But you know what? Here we go. And I was going to say he commented on my stream. I was like, what the heck, Brian? I was going to give him a hard time, but okay.
So one thing I wanted to also kind of address here with you guys is, look, I know you guys said, I have a big stack and blah, 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 4 million points and whatever. But, I wanted to basically say, look, Veve is a very interesting place, ecosystem, where there's people, in a certain world, quantity matters, and it's just about how much, how many stacks you have or whatever. There are people on Veve who have just 100 collectibles or 300 collectibles, but 10 of them are like mint 41s. They're mint, 1977, like a full set or something. They don't, they're not getting like a shit ton of, MCP points or whatever. But if you look at their collection, it is stunning. And, I think that, in Veve, we should stop, looking at people based on, how many collectibles or how many points you have. That's just one part of the ecosystem. I think there's another part. And by the way, I think there is an adequately large, like Randy said, right? There's people who are willing to spend 80,000 and 8,000 or whatever. In Veve, you can still get paid a shit ton of money for really high quality stuff. Somebody bought a Bond car for like 49,000 or whatever, the Aston Martin. Somebody bought, the AR-15s for like whatever price. I know somebody who sold the partner statue 1901, not for $2,000, for a lot more, And so I don't know the final price, the exact price, but it was a lot more. So Veve, you say what you want to, man, but Veve is the place where if you sit, if you can snipe a perfect mint of something, you sit and wait, and you got lucky on the drop. This is the place where you get paid nicely. There are people. The Dr. Rolexes of the world, Mr. Squib, all of these guys, man. Like,
Miss MC1.
A lot of these guys.
Yes, man. Mr. MC1, Mr. 41.eth.
No, I mean, I'll buy a few things, but not at that scale, you know. But this is the place, man. Like, you can say what you want to, man. There are people who buy $50,000, $100,000 things on VeVe today.
Yeah,
Today.
that's a good point. This is, and I want to like transition there from that comment into another thing that I think is important when people talk about, whether or not VeVe NFTs are real NFTs, right? and so like, I'm not going to get into that debate, but like, all I'm going to say is that it's definitely not settled. And the reason I say that is because there are people, like you just said, that are willing to spend tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars on VeVe today. And that's who's going to settle it, right? There might be purists that are like, I only want things that are on L1, that have been minted to L1. That's all I want, right? Because that's first on the blockchain. And there's other people that are like, as long as there's a proof there, right? And I can show digital ownership, I don't care. I don't care about that. And this is really easy. And that to me is what's going to say the most. And the fact that even though that debate continues to go on, people today are spending tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars on collectibles on VeVe says a lot about what I think mainstream is going to accept and be okay with. So I agree with you. I agree with you that there's definitely plays to be made. And I think that sometimes people got used to early on, man, you could just print money on VeVe early on, right? You'd buy a drop and no matter what you got, you'd be able to sell it for more. But then as more and more like NFTs were dropped, right? Like it got saturated and then that didn't happen anymore. And there was less users on and the money's kind of dried up and people are like, oh my gosh, like what's happened? You know, and they're trying to compare like the past to now. And I'm like, well, it's substantially different now, but that doesn't mean that there aren't pieces that you can't make good money on. And so like my play is this, right? I still am getting more and more sets. Not that I'll ever catch up to you, Sanjay, or some of those whales, right? But like I'm getting more and more sets so I can get those points and build those daily points up. One of the easiest ways to do that is with rare comics on comics that people don't care about. You get like the points to dollars, like is pretty solid there, right? And then certain sets can be great with like the number of sets and the secret rares in the sets, all that jazz, right? There's that play. But then I have started to look at what do I think the mainstream, when they come in, when they find VeVe, what are they going to want? What are they going to want when they come in? I think they're going to want Darth Vader's. Now, are they going to be able to pay for the ultra rare? No. But will they still want like an animated like lightsaber or something that makes sound? Yeah. So like the common Vaders or even like a Boba Fett or some of these other ones that are low price, I think that like one of the plays I'm doing is buying some of those that I think that if VeVe, and this is a risk, right? But if VeVe hits mainstream and more and more people accept digital collectibles and they come on, they're going to want some of those. And I think the greatest ROIs will actually come from those type of pieces compared to some of the, like massive pieces, like the 41s on certain things. Those will definitely be big, but that's more of like getting lucky and landing it on drop and flipping it. Because the people who are then paying that secondary market price where they're buying that 41, they're holding on for a long time. So like they're not going to be flipping that anytime soon. But there's also special mints. Like it was a great space that you had. If you guys haven't listened to that, Sanjay held a space with collectibles. There's a lot of whales on there talking about the things that they look at. And it's just very important information just to get an insight as to like there are places to move and stuff in this space and still make good money on VeVe if you have the time.
You know, the number one freaking application of blockchain in the marketing space is for loyalty. You know, it's a trick which the Bored Apes have shown it works. But, you know, very few people and companies either realize it or do it properly, you know, or have the size and the scale to do it. If you think about VeVe, you know, what David has done with that VeVe gold and silver logo, man, that thing, he gave it out for free. Why are people not selling it for $100 and taking $100? The guys who got it for free, you know, and there's 500 of them, man, 500 less the whatever VeVe kept and stuff. And, you know, when you think about the New York event, right, you can't go in from freaking 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the night. Only gold logo holders get to go in. You know, that's just an example of the type of utility in 1 year. And then you get all these, very highly kind of premium artwork. If you just hold the logo, you get a card with a promo code at the back, and you punch in the promo code, and it's like, oh, what the hell? It's a Ron English gold kind of NFT, or it's like another gold NFT or something else. And you keep getting these at regular intervals and stuff when you go and show up at these events. So, that type of utility, these guys at the London police have done as well. Look at the London police drop, man. That was $60 or whatever it is. The ultra rares are like $200 each or $150 or whatever now. And the secret rare is like $800. And that's just the start. I mean, those are guys who figured out utility. When VeVe has a master collector program at the overall VeVe level, where there's some real shit you can get for it. I completely get everybody's, skeptical and pissed and whatever and all that good stuff. But when that damn thing works, where you have a master collector level and you get stuff for it, you have a bronze ticket and you get something really cool for it, that's the day you'll find, people's eyes opening. And to your point, Doctor, so a lot of people come in. And, I'm trying my best to influence Disney to have a digital club. Doesn't have to be on VeVe. Build your digital club, man. Like it could be across Pinnacle and whatever else you've got, Cryptoids and whatever. It's a Disney club. And, like that type of thing, man, will just set the whole place on fire. Everything that you bought, like some freaking, like the pizza truck or whatever, now is like $100 or $200 or whatever. When you realize that those things drive value and they haven't agreed to any of the stuff, hopefully they do, man. Hopefully they agree to it. But my belief is that this whole freaking NFT space is going to come down to loyalty on the blockchain.
That would be massive for so many companies. It's definitely a way to market, and it's so specific. You can get so specific, right? Instead of all this email stuff and you getting bombarded with all this crap, you can, like, the people who have spent money on your product, you can target those people and say, like, oh, here's some of their likes. This is what we've seen here. We're going to reward you for your loyalty here. Like, I 100% agree that is definitely one of the big things there. And then obviously just like the tokenization of all real world assets there with NFTs, like that's going to be a big deal too. It's exciting times, man. There's a lot of wonderful and exciting things that are coming down because of blockchain technology. But yeah, companies are missing the boat right now on targeting their users who are so fanatical about their product, right? That they're buying digital stuff. And you can find that on the blockchain, find the wallet addresses there, and airdrop and reward those people and send community. Yeah, 100% agree.
I have a quick one here. This is probably more for Randy or maybe Dr. Stuff, because you guys are stacking OMI a little bit more. When would you lose confidence in the token, or would you not lose confidence?
It wouldn't be like a timeline. Like if they don't, deliver anything by this time, then I will sell the token. I have said that if they don't deliver anything meaningful by the end of Q2, at that point I'll start selling some of my collectibles. And some of that will exit the ecosystem, but some of that will also go into buying more of the OMI token, unless the thesis of the company changes and they go and they say, hey, we're pivoting to whatever they want to pivot to. And they, let's say they're not focusing on IP, which they're the best at, and they start focusing more on whatever else. That's something where, like, okay, this has changed, and the whole entire soul and heart of the company has changed, and maybe at that point I would, but that's not necessarily like a timeline. Like if they don't have X by May or whatever. That's just if or if David and Dan decided to actually like sell the company, which I don't think they do for several years. It'd be one of those things.
So if they change direction, basically. Dr. Stuff, what's your take?
Yeah, so I'm in OMI for the long haul, right? There are definitely tokens that I'm just like, this is a quick flip, or like a shorter term flip where I'm just like, this is speculation. I don't see any real value here. Now, where I would, I guess, lose trust would truly be if they didn't deliver utility for the OMI token at some point, because that is one of the reasons that I'm holding it, is because that OMI to NFT, some of that stuff that they've promised us, and I think that there would be real value in that if they can implement that. So if they didn't do that, that's when I would say, I don't know if this token's ever going to be worth anything then, if they're not going to use the utility. But we're already starting to see them build that out. So there's the first thing there. But like, I'm not like, if the price didn't go up, that's not what, like, for me, OMI, again, it's more that utility. I'd love it the price to go up. I have much more than I need, right? And I'm like this. You guys, Randy and Jordan, still have much more than I do, but like, I've just diversified so much, right? Like, and I'm definitely rolling things in, and there's finally some projects that I invested in like 2.5 years ago through the private sales or seed funding rounds, right? That are finally going to be launching here. I'm super excited to take some of those gains and roll it into OMI right now, because I do think that it's undervalued, and like, I do think that the team is going to fulfill some of those promises. But I'm never so emotionally attached to a token to where if I'm like, look, like, this is a lost cause now, that I wouldn't exit it. But that's what I think it would take, is for me to start seeing that they've abandoned utility for the token.
Yeah.
But then if that's the case, then I'm really concerned about VeVe, in general. Like, what's David, what are Dan doing if they're making a decision like that, So that, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it does. And Sanjay, do you only hold the 10 million in VeVe app, or do you have more OMI?
I have 10 million, my friend. I've told VeVe that, look, you could have got more OMI into the app by increasing that number to 12 million, 11 million, 15 million, whatever. Like, keep show me, tell me that I'll get something for 15 million. I'll put 15 million. Tell me that, show me that the 10 million really kind of, that bronze ticket got me something super cool. I'm on the OMI side, I'm like the follower, man. These are all the leaders you have out here, Dr. Stav, Randy, all these guys are leaders. I'm the follower, man. I'm like, the day I buy OMI for doing stuff in the app is the day you guys get very, very wealthy, because you can sell me your OMI at whatever price you want to.
I like that.
There you go, guys. That's it.
It's a great answer. And 3GP Media appreciates our answers. He's been holding since 2021, and no plan to exit till it's 180 from the current direction. Yeah, okay. So
I like collectibles more, though. I buy a lot of collectibles and art and stuff.
So, Mr. MC, one good question for you you're a proper collector at heart, right? Like, you're really on the VeVe side, really strongly.
Yeah.
If there's a lot less fees and
what is it? Collector at heart. There you
go. That's right. If there's a lot less fees and there's discounts, everything, using OMI to buy collectibles, you would use OMI? Is that you would buy more?
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
And you
if you get to buy collectibles with OMI and you get a discount on it, why would I not do it? Like, I'm savvy. I have crypto. I have all the other stuff, right? I have a lot of other stuff. I have Avalanche. I have Stellar, Chainlink, all this other stuff. I have all those things, okay? Ethereum, Bitcoin. I have a lot of this stuff. Not lots and lots of it, but I have, and I know how to do layer 1, layer 2, and move this and that. So I'm not, technologically challenged to move OMI and use OMI to do anything. In fact, I have my MetaMask connected into metaverses, and I, use my assets in the metaverse, and all that other stuff too. So show me a purpose, and I will get it. Show me a purpose, I get it. I'm not gonna buy OMI because somebody told me something's coming. I'm gonna buy OMI when you show me it can do something.
So if everybody that's really into VeVe has no OMI or just a bare minimum, if we get all that utility we want, then I can really see OMI doing what we all think it'll do. It could do crazy numbers. It could do, it could be the next Dogecoin in terms of market cap, not meme coin, but it could be like a actual utility token that does well. Do you guys know any utility tokens that do well that's not like a layer 1, layer 2? Because I don't know if there's any.
Yeah, Chili's token's done pretty well, but like, there's a utility to it, right? And it's tied to kind of collective. It's like a game, like, and it's like tied to a fandom, right? Too, or So Rare. I'm getting some of those mixed up, right? But Chili's and So Rare, yes, but in general, no. Most utility tokens really don't do anything. But this is where I think VeVe truly has a chance to stand out and really be the first, where if they implement this utility right, people are buying the token not because of the price or the speculation, because they want the token for its utility. And when that happens, because I was just on a Twitter space, right, with Pog, they're coming out with these digital collectibles. And Randy was on it, right, and we were talking about it, and they were talking about the utility of this token, and I'm like that's the thing. If you can drive value to the token where people want it, and it's tied to like a dollar amount, like that's what made me excited about the bronze tickets. Is it was tied to $1 worth of OMI, so it didn't matter what OMI's price did. It was just $1 worth of OMI, right? And so if OMI was 20 cents, they didn't care. If OMI was 50 cents, they didn't care. If OMI was 0001, they didn't care. They just wanted $1 worth of OMI to buy a bronze ticket, right? Now they have to marry that with the ability to buy L2 OMI on the app for that to really, really work. But those type of things are going to make it super useful for people to just want the token for its utility there. And so then the people who are speculating just on price, they're going to get rewarded for that. And they'll be the ones selling the token to the people who just want it for its use case, like Sanjay said, right? So like, will it play out? Look, I think it has a high probability. Is it guaranteed? No. None of this is. And anyone who's sitting there complaining about this, and like, this is a risky space, and put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants, right? And like own your decisions and understand that timelines aren't met and promises aren't kept. And it's not saying that that's okay, but it happens everywhere. And but like, do I think that it's coming down the line? And the people who are patient are the ones who typically get rewarded, but they're the ones who are not waiting. Like, so Sanjay even admitted, right? He's like, we'll be selling the OMI into his hands. He's willing to pay a higher premium potentially for the token, because like he doesn't want to hold it now where there's no utility, because he doesn't want to speculate on that. He wants to wait. But the people who do speculate and they're saying, I believe it's coming, I think I'm seeing signs of it coming here, I'm willing to buy at these lows and take the risk that it doesn't happen, because the reward, if it does happen, is higher, because I'll be selling it to people like Sanjay who are willing to pay a premium to not have as much risk with that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I wanted to buy some, some crypto. I bought, about a year back, I bought Immutable, I bought Stellar, and I bought Avalanche. And Avalanche, I got in at like 14 some bucks. I got into, I think I got into Immutable at like 60 cents or something like that.
Oh, nice.
And, I was like, these things have real, there's something going on there. There's some real action going on with some of these companies and stuff. And I did well on it. And I sold some of it already. So I sold some of my Avalanche at like between 35 and 40. I sold some of my Immutable around little over $2 or whatever. And, so I'll do the same thing with OMI. The day VeVe has utility for OMI, all this 0.3 zeros and a 6 and all this stuff is short-term memory, man. Like, there will be people who come and pay 60 cents for OMI and $6 for OMI or whatever when it gets to the right place and there's real utility. And people don't care about how many zeros there were 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, or whatever. I mean, I know Philippe, is it Pink Panther? His comment is so funny. He's like, Sanjay, get your hands on my OMI. I won't part with it. Well, you know what, man? I'll make you an offer at that time to make you part with it, my friend. And a lot of people like me, lots and lots of people like me. After the utility comes, there's very few people who go in early. A vast majority of people follow. Majority of people follow.
There's going to be
go for Randy.
There's going to be a time where I know originally it was, hey, you need $40,000 worth of OMI, and that was going to be like their fifth tier. They're supposed to have 5 tiers: 2,500, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, $40,000 worth of OMI, and that would have been, you would have gotten some really cool things. But I think the reason why they changed it to 10 million and why they might lower it eventually is because 10 million OMI right now is doable. It's $6,000. People coming in. It's a lot, but it's within the realm of possibility if people save up for a little while. But in the next, and this is just me speculating here, but I think within this calendar year we go much greater than 10x. But let's just say 10x. Now suddenly 10 million OMI costs $60,000. I think it's gonna be more than that, but that's a lot. I don't think that's really doable for the average person. It's not doable for the average person.
It's a year income, right? That's a year income for most people.
Yeah.
And not including expenses and stuff. So it's actually like 10 years of savings.
So you have this inflection point that's going to happen where, hey, people that have the 10 million OMI are like, I don't know, like gods at that point. And I think they're going to lower it at some point. And you have maybe only 5 million OMI that's needed.
Yeah, man. Keep building. I mean, my advice to Veve would be keep building, man. Keep building and doing what you guys are doing. The day you nail it, and the day you can talk about OMI with like this, glory in, like we got this done. The people that have OMI have done this with it, and they can now do this, and now they can also do this. And then, oh, by the way, they can also do this. That's the day when, all this thing becomes like, people like me will put more into it and at a much higher price point, and we wouldn't care, and we didn't, right? Think about it. I bought OMI at like 0.004 and 5 and stuff like that. Maybe not 5, maybe 4, but yeah. So, these things you just have to, it has to play out. It has to play out. And when the value emerges, that's when you'll see true value.
Did you ever buy Gene when I told you to buy?
Man, I looked at it. I didn't buy it.
You didn't buy it. You missed out on some good games.
What was it? Was it
What
20
was it?
cents or something? What was it?
What was the game?
It was decentralized science is the narrative that it
You
was
told me
in.
about it.
Yeah. And when CZ announced that one of the things he was going to start looking at was investing in decentralized science, that token pumped massively.
So what is it now?
Well, okay, like I feel like the time, like it's definitely at a higher risk point than it was. It's still got a pretty small market cap, but Genome's DAO is the token, Gene token. But anyways, we can talk about that later. I was just wondering if you ended up getting into that.
I didn't get it, man. I didn't get it. I was kind of in the middle of doing some other stuff on
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, early on, and I'll make this point too. What I saw in the last bull run, and I just caught the tail end of the last bull run, right? But what I saw, and when I was talking to a lot of people that were in VCs and that have been in the space since like 2014 or 2013, right? They were like crypto OGs. And they were like, what typically happens is any project that has enough funds to make it through the bear market, at a bare minimum, their token does like a decent jump, right? Because it's dropped so significantly that if you're buying it at those lows before the bull run starts to hit, it actually does it a decent jump because there's so much liquidity in the space and people do speculate on stuff. So regardless, like I think that OMI, without adding any other utility, without doing anything else, it will probably rise just because almost like every single project will rise. But there is that cost benefit analysis that you have to make is like, are there other tokens that I could be in that will do like give me greater returns, right? So there's that. But then again, to Sanjay's point, what we truly haven't really seen play out to date is true utility of a token on something that like a large amount of people are just like not in crypto, but they want to get this token because of the utility that it offers for the collecting fandom that they have there. We've seen it a little bit with SoRare and a little bit with Chili's, but not to the extent that I think that can happen on Veve. And so only time will tell to see if that really, really lands. But like if it lands, it could land massively.
I can't wait. I can't wait. We're going to wrap it up soon because we're getting almost an hour and 40 minutes in. I'm loving it. It's been great. We've got some.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it?
Igon.
A few more. I was just saying, Crypto XR. So you're going, Mr. MC1, and Randy, are you going?
Yes.
I'm not going.
I've seen conflicting things. Some things say that Dan and David are still speaking, and then other people said that they're not speaking. So
I heard not.
I
heard not, but
okay.
That could have changed because I'm not like I know initially they were supposed to speak, and then there was a word that came out that said it's a lot of French speakers or whatever, so these guys are not speaking. Who knows what the story behind all of that stuff is? I haven't heard anything to the contrary. It doesn't mean that they don't. Maybe they'll still get on stage and say 5 things or whatever, but not formally as speakers or something.
Okay.
But I know they're very widely regarded by that group of people that's organizing the conference, and they're looking forward to having them there and stuff like that. So there's a lot of VV people, OMI VV people going to be there. So I'm in one of the groups where there's, I think, about 70 or 80 people. I don't know if all of them are going to show or not, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's exciting. We've got one comment here. Can you tell us some more about the VeVeVerse? And you've got to spill the secrets if you can.
Why do you want to get me fired, man?
Let's mute him.
I just literally like somehow stuck.
Let's get Sunday cancelled.
See, here's what I can tell you, right? So when I, towards the end of last year, when I was in VeVeVerse, I just felt like there's a lot of cool things in it, but maybe not ready for prime time with a lot more users coming in. And then in the first week of Jan and the second week of Jan, I saw a couple more updates to the VeVeVerse, and they were improvements in both areas, significant improvement in both areas. And I can't tell you what those areas are and stuff, but my sense is that it's right around the corner now. But the VeVeVerse is still very beautiful. It's got all the feature functionality. It's got all the collectibles in there. They've brought in, all the assets look great. The communication, all of those things are really great. The people that are building in there. So I'm not a builder, I mean, I like doing cool stuff in there and stuff. But the guys who build like Tails and it's a bunch of people, they have built such amazing True Tech Junkie and these guys. They built such amazing pads in there. I mean, I don't think if you guys get in, you can build anything as cool as that, but it's possible to build something as cool as that. And when you see some of those things that they've built, the castles, the garages, the bat caves, and the all the other kind of stuff. I probably shouldn't give away more stuff there, but they're also exquisitely done with materials. Like you can feel and see the texture of the materials. Just the whole thing is really incredible. I hope that when they launch it, it has it works at that scale. Sometimes it's easier to work on a smaller scale. So yes. I'm sure they're working on that scale thing because, and I'm hoping it comes soon for everybody. But it's
the only way to test it is to actually get everyone in, right? Like it's the only real way to test it is you
have to be in it to play with it. Yeah. And you're going to want to build your own thing, right? When you actually do what you want in it to make your vision or dream come true, right? Whether it's a garage, whether it's a castle, whether it's something else. A Star Wars theme kind of thing. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited. Randy, you want to go through and say your parting words and we'll wrap this up?
Yeah, sure. You guys were talking about just value, maybe for not certain items, but maybe for others. There's going to be value where people see it. If anyone remembers the movie War Dogs, Jonah Hill plays an arms dealer, and he couldn't compete with all of the big billion-dollar companies that were supplying arms to the U.S. government, but he could get some of the smaller several $100,000 or a couple $1 million deals, and that's what he did. And and this is just me personally, I having an extra $3,500, $4,000 for another gold and silver VV logo. Maybe I don't have that right now. Maybe I don't have $10,000 for a Miles Morales secret rare. But I think there's other things that could also go up at a commensurate rate. I think that I know that there's only 59 sub 100s of whatever collectible. So I'm really focusing on the sub 100 Marvel Mighties. I finally got the #2 spot in sub 100 Marvel collectibles on Stacker. Big accomplishment of mine for 2024. And you could still buy a couple of first appearance sub 100s for like $40 for Marvel. Like it's pretty cheap. Outside of that, thanks for everyone in the comments, and they'll take me out on like a date when OMI goes up. That's cool. I said before, VeVe has no serious competition. We've already won. Just have fun. Just relax. Let's just when are the things gonna go up? I don't know. It could be several months from now. It could possibly even be next year, or it could be in 2 months. But I'm enjoying the ride. I'm excited for what's to come.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy. Sanjay?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys for having me here, Jordan, Randy, Dr. Stuff. It's great to be on this channel. Great to chat with you guys. Great to get your different perspectives. I mean, maybe we don't agree on everything, but at least I pride myself with keeping it real, man, keeping it 100 and laying it out the way. I wanted to also, the one topic we didn't cover was Stacker. Stacker, stackr.world. That's an amazing app. Once you get into it, there's so much feature functionality and analysis related to VeVe and the mints and the wallets and it's a game changer, guys. It's a game changer. My collecting has improved, not changed, just improved after getting into that app. Nobody's paid me any money or any such thing. It's free to use for anybody. But do take a look at that as well. It's amazing what Dr. Prophet and the team have done, that other team have done with it. But thanks, everybody. Nothing else.
Awesome. Thanks, Sanjay. Dr. Stuff, you're a final man to round us out.
Yeah, well, thanks always, Jordan, for hosting around the VeVeVerse. It's become a staple in the VeVe community. There's a lot of people who watch this, and they can't always do it live, but I always get comments, right, just saying how much they enjoy this, and especially during the bear market. And if you guys haven't yet, I'd love it if you could like and subscribe to everyone's channel here, right, and follow us on Twitter. In the bear market, it's a lot more mentally taxing, right, to continue to talk about a project when the token's down, when things are down, and there's so many people like attacking you. And so to take that mental fortitude of people that are just out here still today that haven't left, and there's been a lot of influencers who have left, right, the space, and for myriad of reasons, right, but the people who have stayed here, I respect so much. I love that. I love that they continue to produce that content. And the easiest way you can do that is just like liking and subscribing to their channels. So I would just implore you guys to do something like that, just to support them on that. And I love these chats. And I love the great thing is, right, like we can agree or disagree, but like always doing it in a very, very friendly way. And like one of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong, or sometimes it's just time that will tell. And that's the great thing, right? And so but I love having people like Sanjay on too, like just the business perspective that he can offer on things like his experience and his background. And there's so many people like that in this community. And that's what Danny the Bull said it. And I echo his comments before. Basically, he's just like, whatever I've spent on OMI and however down the token is, I'm still up because of the relationships that I've made in this community. And that's so true. Like I'm in a lot of other communities. I've never made the connections and friendships that I have like I have here in the VeVe community. So I'm grateful for all of you guys. Appreciate y'all. And again, thanks, Jordan, for continuing to host this.
No worries. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you next week.